welcome back to Absolutely Marvel and DC. Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Into the AM. Use the code ABSOLUTELY. Comments down below. Get yourself one of these cool shirts. It's still recorded.
Very nice.
All right, so today I want to talk about Titans. I'm currently on episode 5 out of the 6 that are currently out. Husset is all caught up. And next Monday, when we get to our filming, next Monday or Tuesday, because there might be a delay next week, we'll be discussing Titans in full. But what I wanted to do is kind of get out the fact, and yes, and someone in our chat brought it up, Doom Patrol's back tomorrow too, Dylan.
Oh.
So
wow.
this is what I wanted to bring up. I wanted to give a quick rundown of what I think about Titans so far without spoiling anything. And then Dylan and I are going to discuss the whole situation where no one knew these two shows were coming back.
It's true.
And
I haven't seen any of it. So.
And is that tied to what's going on with the current DC situation with James Gunn? We'll talk about that. Titans Season 4 is doing exactly what I've wanted it to do for the last 2 seasons. Bear in mind, I've enjoyed the last 2 seasons, but they're actually focusing on the Titans. Gar is actually in more than 2 episodes of the season. Connor is a very large player in the season. Starfire is doing stuff with the Titans, not just, I'm going to do my own space adventure for an episode.
Yeah, her own weird sister plot.
The thing that is weird about this season, though, is they went from like, how far can we push the PG-13 envelope to almost going to R? People's faces are being ripped off. People are puking up blood. They're like mass murdering people. There's a whole sequence involving zombies where they rip the heads off things and it's just left with stumps. Like,
Oh boy. Lovely.
Right. I don't know why they chose to go this route with it. It was like, we're going all in for this last season.
Yeah, that was one of the weird things that I felt about that show when I was watching. Is it definitely like it's a relic of the DC's edgy and dark era, and that's just, this is like the last bastion of that mandate, and it never, I don't know, like DC is so, especially when you're using characters like Nightwing and Beast Boy, like you don't need to have heads being pulled off. That's right. That's a bit of a mess.
But it so far the season's been really good, and they're revisiting plot points. I won't go deep into it because, like I said, it won't be spoilers, that they left hanging in season 1. So it actually feels like they're kind of just bringing the show full circle in case this is the finale to the whole show, which I'm leaning to it is. So first thing I want to bring it to you, Dylan, is no one knew this show existed. Like, I didn't catch on that it had come out until episode 3. And this is a point I brought up recently. Well, I was talking with some writers and stuff over at the DC side, and they're complaining about marketing issues. And I'm like, it's my job to literally know these things. And I can't find it without going deep diving onto Twitter. So what do you think is going on? Why did they not promote this or Doom Patrol, which is starting up tomorrow?
I want to clarify real quick. It's episode 3 is not as bad. The first 2 episodes came out on the same day. So
okay. All right.
Just to be fair to that. I thought maybe it was the first 3 because that's what they did last time.
Oh, and that's how I missed it. I mean, that would have made more sense, but yeah.
Yeah, but the show having no advertising, I think the only thing I saw is maybe like a trailer promoted on Twitter, like the day that it came out or something. But yeah, there's no hype.
I've seen
for
things
any
from
of
the
this.
cast members. That's how I caught on to it, because I followed the cast members. Because that was the only way to find out about season 3.
Yeah.
So
I mean, this isn't a problem exclusive to DC. I feel like it's because when Andor came out, I also had no idea that had come out. But it's so hard to like try to like make a difference between, is this my fault for just not being in the right circles that are getting this promoted, or is it just straight up not getting promoted? You have to really pay attention to figure that out.
I think it's the day and age, and the marketing companies are not catching up. I think they're being dinosaurs. Because think about this. You and I, I'm assuming, have very similar watch habits, where we watch a streaming service with no ads, or we watch YouTube with no ads, or you're on TikTok with very little ads, or a ton of ads, but they're all things for some stupid hot sauce thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like what I'm saying is, this is what the only advertising that I ever get at this point is in the back of a comic, and that's if I turn to the last page. It's if somebody promotes it in a YouTube video, or they actually promote it on their streaming platforms. By not being on terrestrial TV and watching that stuff, and not going into the theaters as much as I used to, because that would be stuff. I don't think they know where to promote it to get people's attention. That's what I think is going on.
I think without going too much into how I watch things, my stuff is very insular.
You watch it on ad-free streaming services, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Wink. I don't see ads. Well, at the end of the day, I don't really see ads anywhere except for maybe Twitter, and like sometimes on Reddit, but I know that there are places that people see more ads, like Instagram. I'll open Instagram like once a month, and that thing is littered with advertisements.
Facebook
Same
too.
with Facebook. Yeah.
But we don't use those two primarily.
No.
So I feel like marketing agencies just aren't keeping up because this has been going on, like you said, with everyone. This is Andor.
Yeah.
I didn't know it came out. I wasn't going to watch it, but I normally I get word that these things exist. Titans I didn't know existed. Doom Patrol I only saw because I booted it up this morning to watch another episode of Titans, and Doom Patrol is plastered at the top. Season premiere tomorrow.
And I think that's a good point too, because like for us, people who are constantly being like told by our chats or, you know, just people on Twitter or wherever that things are out, if we're not being told those by like, you know, the bunch of people that would normally tell us that, then they're also not being served ads for it because they also don't know that it's coming out or care.
The same argument applies to all the comic book events right now. Like they're only being promoted in the comic books, which when you read digital like I do, I just don't turn to the last page. Like I literally don't have to.
Like, this is less of a problem with TV because they don't have inane crossover events unless you're the CW 5 years ago. But like as someone who doesn't really read any comic books right now except for X-Men, it is such a chore to just keep up with what's going on in like the 10 different X-Men books and like making sure that I read this one before this one so that I don't get spoiled for what happens in this one. And it's like, it's such a mess. And they don't make that, like sometimes books will have a reading order in the back, but they really need to make like just a clear, like, hey, they did this at one point, I think with the first Hellfire Gala. They were like, hey, read all of this before you read Hellfire Gala. Otherwise that's going to spoil a bunch. Like it was a buck that like stopped and like that was the big deal. But I don't know, it's just confusing. And I feel like it's the same thing with like, you talk about the MCU or something. There's similar things where like you need to watch this before you watch this. Otherwise, you're not going to understand what's going on.
Right.
If they don't make that clear through advertising, then you're shit out of luck.
Right. But it's the advertising that I just find weird because it's just they don't know how to advertise it anymore. And I don't have an answer. I'm not an advertising agent here. My answer would simply be to pay TikTokers, Instagrammers, get the biggest names, which DC does do sometimes. I was on Instagram the other day because I do browse it once in a while, and I saw I don't even know who the hell this was, some Instagram girl who obviously was well known at the Titans premiere party. Like, and that was the promo. She got to go to the party and took photos, and I'm like, oh, Titans exist.
Titans is back. I mean, I know we're a relatively small channel, but channels like this one and just us in general, give us money, just utilize us to be an advertising engine for you. Say, hey, Titans is coming back. Do you want to make like a retrospective on the previous ones? Here's a bag of money. Do that. Tell your audience about it.
Well, I think that the problem is they'd rather do
coming back.
They have figured, we'll give the bag of money to the 6 million follower cosplay girl, and hopefully all 6 million go watch the show. And they don't blanket out all of their stuff. Like I was a part of the Midnight Suns campaign for the Marvel game. And their plan was to get everyone from small YouTubers to big YouTubers to start talking and playing the game. And that way it got out there. It hit all the different audiences. But like that's a different argument. We're going like I remember back when we started doing YouTube, the answer was give all the money to the biggest channel available. Like that was it. Hey, let's get this channel involved and give them all the money. Mm-hmm. And that'll work.
Also, I feel like advertising, you really need repetition. It can't just be one. You can't hear something once from a big source and be like, okay, I'll look into that. But if you hear it 5 times from 5 different people, then you're going to be like, okay, well, what's this thing about? Like, personally, like, I've given into some YouTube ads, just like, I have a Quip toothbrush. I don't know if anybody remembers back in the day when every YouTuber was sponsored by Quip, but that's probably one of the reasons I bought one of those. Yeah. Was because it's like, hey, I've heard about it so much, let me try it. And I've had
the most successful campaigns are the ones that hit everyone multiple times, like Raid. Exactly. Raid Shadow Legends. Regardless, it became such a meme ad. Many people, myself included, tried Raid for real. Yeah. And they made billions of dollars. Like, they're a huge game in the mobile game space. And I agree with that. Like, Titans had a few things come out when they premiered. Why aren't we getting like an every other week recap or bump somewhere? Why isn't it not like, hey, such and such just happened to Titans. What's going to happen this week? You know?
Yeah. I mean, as much as we joke, or like people in the comments like to joke about reviewers being paid off, it's not a bad idea. Like, obviously don't like pay them to say certain things or disclose that that's what's happening if you do, but
right.
Just say like, hey, review our show, we'll give you money. And I know that like there's a lot of you're gonna have a really cool company to be like, oh, we're gonna pay you to maybe trash on our show.
Right, like that would be the caveat. But then there's always the argument of if we get paid, are we actually being legit or not, and stuff like that. I've been on some friends' partnered streams, and they get mad at me if I say anything negative about the game, and I'm like, they aren't paying me, buddy.
Which I feel like also that like that's you get a lot of cool points if you allow your, like, even if it's just like a facade. Like Linus Tech Tips is sponsored by Dbrand, and I'm sure they have this relationship with most of their sponsorships, but like they are constantly shitting on Dbrand and acting like they don't want Dbrand as their sponsor, and Dbrand is also messing with them, and that creates this like this appearance that Dbrand is cool, and they're like, they don't mind that they're being talked about in this way, and that's that's a great tool to have your brand appear like chill, which I hate, but it's at a base level, like it's like relatability sells. That's like the thing we've seen with YouTube since its inception. So if you want to sell your thing, that's going back to your point about brands being dinosaurs. Like they need to advertise in new ways that are hitting markets that, just a Twitter promoted trailer that people are going to scroll past in half a second isn't hitting.
One thing that I've always wondered is DC and Marvel likes to put out those trailers for the comic books to promote the comic book. Why aren't you just sending that on blast to every channel and being like, can you please post this? What's your cost to post this on your channel? Like, I've gotten a few of those Marvel things, and we've re-uploaded a couple of them, but I stopped doing it because I'm like, why am I going to do this? Like, it's free promotion for them, which is good for me, but at the same time, they don't give a shit if I do this. This doesn't do anything for me. Relationship-wise, there's no kickback. There's no nothing. I'm just putting up trailers that I think are cool, and so I just stopped doing it. Like,
I mean, that's a video game trailers do that all the time. I think movie trailers too. I don't know the exact mechanics of this, but when a new like game or movie trailer gets out, you got IGN, you got GameSpot, you got everyone and their mom is re-uploading that trailer. And I don't know if money is exchanged there or if they're just allowed to do it because they're a journalist YouTube channel, but that's that. At least like when you search that thing, you're gonna have 80 trailers for the new thing come up instead of just the one that's like maybe buried under some YouTuber's opinion from like a year ago in a video that blew up.
I mean, I just put out a tweet about Titans, and I did it because one, I like Titans, I'm enjoying it, so I put the tweet out about it. But I also did it so that people know it exists. I remember when I tweeted out Young Justice on the scene where Superman had one of his best scenes in Young Justice, and everyone's like, "That show is back." Yes. We're on episode 8.
Crying somewhere.
But yeah, I mean, so overall, though, Titans is actually a really good season 4. I will say, if you did not like seasons 1 through 3 at all, this is not the season to bring you back in. But that also brings you to the next part of my discussion here. Is this the end of Titans and Doom Patrol? Are they only coming out because they were made? So let's throw out the last of it. Because we're going to talk more in depth about all these announcements. But there is potential that James Gunn is just saying, screw everything. It's all over.
Wipe the slate clean.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. I think I jokingly said in our chat last night that imagine if they just take all of the stuff in production, including Batgirl, and just throw it on HBO Max and be done with it. I want that to be the case. I want them to finish what they're working on right now and just shove it on streaming. Make a huge push for it. You'll get a bunch of revenue in streaming, hopefully. And I know they're probably resistant to that because of Wonder Woman 1984, but boy, some money is better than just canceling a movie a bunch of people worked on and never releasing it even though it's done. So I don't know. I think that's the best solution. This like muddying through the waters. We've talked about this a few times at this point, but like them just like half in, half out, trying to to satisfy the Snyderverse while building something new at the same time just creates confusion and a mess. If you actually want to build a universe, you have to start from zero. That's just...
So without going deeper into that, because there's going to be a whole discussion about all the rumors that are speculating right now, I kind of agree. As much as I'm liking Titans and I like Doom Patrol, I do think they just need to end and we just start clean. Like, just in general. I'd love for some of these actors to stick around, but I kind of agree we just need to do a full swap around.
Yeah.
You know?
I think, and especially now that they have over 10 years of movie blueprint from the MCU, and now a few years of how to do TV that relates to it, blueprint, and what not to do. And that was something that, like, you know, Marvel struggled for the first 10 years of it to figure out their ancillary products with the TV and the comics and everything relating into it. But now they've pretty much figured it out in terms of just canon. Quality is a discussion we've had 70 times on this channel. But DC could learn from that. And obviously they have James Gunn at the helm, who's been in it for this long. Like,
he's seen everything going on.
Yeah. Like, I think they're in a pretty good position to start something that could work. And that's exciting.
Mm-hmm. Well, we are absolutely Marvel and DC, talking about your favorite superhero movies, rumors, TV shows, all that kinds of stuff on a pretty much daily or every other day basis. So check back, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and check out our sponsor, Into the AM. Get yourself this cool looking shirt or whatever new stuff they're running for December. I haven't looked at the December loads yet. Thank you guys. We'll see you next time.